Welcome to I'm Okay. My name's Robert. I'm a 31-year-old writer and filmmaker. I grew up everywhere from Paris to New Jersey to New York, and I'm currently speaking to you today from Toronto, Canada. I want to talk to you today about this podcast and what you can expect from I'm Okay going forward. But first, and I genuinely believe this to be the best practice for all things in life, we'll start with why. Why this podcast exists, why it started, and why I believe you'll benefit from listening. And if you stick around, the last thing I want to share with you is why we chose to call it I'm Okay. I believe we're sleepwalking. Wherever you are right now, whether you're at a coffee shop, in your car, walking your dog, just stop for a second and look around. Become aware. Do you see it? People. People making choices they're not consciously making. People reacting to things that they don't want to react to. Living lives they don't want to be living. Have you seen the film Groundhog Day with Bill Murray? Growing up, I really loved that film. Well, I want you to stop having your own Groundhog Day. Because when you really step back, I'm sure you'll see in your life what I saw in my own. Patterns. Things that just kept happening. Whether you're in Paris or you're in Rome, when you're 14, when you're 40, with one partner, another partner, different friends, you can change all the variables. But when you really break it down, some things always seem to stay the same. How you see the world, how you link ideas, how you see yourself in relation to the world. The worst part is you might not even know where these ideas came from. They might seem really innocent, really small, but they're not inconsequential. Become aware of how they're impacting your career, your relationships, how they came into your mind. Awareness is always the first step to progress. You cannot solve a problem you're not certain exists. And once you become aware, I promise you're going to want to change. It's time to stop sleepwalking. It's time to wake up. I'm Okay will feature interviews, stories, and honest conversations that dig deep into why we don't get what we want, why we're anxious, why we're depressed, why we're feeling lost or angry, bored or frustrated. We'll talk about habit formation, and hopefully together we can learn how to become more conscious beings, at peace, and in love with our own lives. Why did I start this podcast? You might say 8 months ago I had a crisis, but if I'm being honest, it started much before that. I want you to imagine there's a car 4 feet in front of you. It's going 80 miles per hour. It hasn't hit you. But if it's directly in front of you, there's nothing, absolutely nothing in the situation that can be done that would change the fact that this car will hit you. There isn't enough time or distance to avoid that outcome. But we don't call it a crisis until impact. And once there's impact, it's too late. And that's what I want to help you see. There are ideas you have, habits you have, relationships you're building, signals you're ignoring, and they're all cars. Either they're taking you somewhere better, to a higher understanding of yourself, or they're driving at you, faster and faster. 8 months ago, I was hit by several of these cars, 5 at the same time. A somewhat serious health condition I was ignoring turned deathly serious. A relationship I'd been neglecting, avoiding fixing, avoiding walking away from, ended within an hour. My finances were in the toilet. My dog, who was like my very best friend, died in my arms the day after Christmas. And many of my most important friendships fell to hell, including a 10-year friendship I'd often used to anchor my entire identity as a worthwhile human being. The months that followed involved surgery, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, a total unearthing of every buried subconscious recording I was playing, a total overhaul of my lifestyle, my habits, copious amounts, months and months of inhaling neuroscience and social and clinical psychology textbooks. I was on a mission. I needed to know what happened to me. I was a blossoming filmmaker. I was leading one of the fastest growing film festivals in the world. I was financially successful for my age, good looking. I had amazing friends, 2 beautiful dogs. I owned my home. I had a lovely girlfriend. And yet, I was miserable, consistently miserable. And in the span of 60 days, I had lost it all. Was I just unlucky? Did it really happen that quickly? Or had the process by which I had achieved everything over the span of 31 years been inherently flawed, whereby, no matter what I had, who I was, how I was, what I was doing, my thought patterns created a situation such that it was only a matter of time before the entire tower crashed in on itself. This is the house of cards. This is the house built on an uneven foundation. It's doomed. But from an unexamined distance, it looks solid. And now, just 8 months removed, I've gotten back much more than what I lost. I've regained my health, I'm in the best shape of my life, and I have organic, beautiful interactions with almost everyone I meet. This is the result of a lot of work, a lot of healing. It's an open-ended journey inward. I think you'll benefit from this podcast regardless of where you are in life. Whatever your background, each of us has thoughts we don't want to have. We have ideas we didn't choose to inherit. They speak to us in these quiet moments, and we suppress them. And it's tempting to say, well, in spite of that shit, I'm making $1 million a year, and I have a great family, so I'm fine. Every one of these limiting beliefs you hold, every negative recording that plays in your head, all the unresolved ideas, the negative self-talk, the contradictions, I want you to imagine that they're like bricks in a backpack. Now, a supremely strong athlete can go very far rather quickly whilst carrying even 100 bricks on their back. Many of us, on the other hand, would struggle to move with even 40 or 50 and would likely collapse. Sometimes exceptional individuals create strength to compensate and push through at a pace which exceeds an average human carrying even 0 bricks. But to this exceptional high achiever, this master compensator, I say, think about how much faster you'd be without those bricks. And think about the long-term consequence of carrying this many bricks, 30 years down, 40 years down. Think about how off balance you are at all times and how much strain you're putting on your muscles to compensate for all of those bricks. This is burnout. This is the midlife crisis, your third divorce. Let's solve problems before they hit a crisis. Let's find a way to empty the bag before our spine collapses for compensating for all of these bricks. I'm so happy that people are more comfortable than ever talking about mental health. For me, growing up, the idea of going to therapy was just so taboo, especially for a guy. It was so exclusively for crazy people. And now we live in a world where there's less stigma around simply saying, I need a mental health day, and taking this day or week or month to create some new direction, to take some of these bricks off your back, to sort yourself out. It isn't weakness, it's the ultimate strength, and it's this ultimate statement to yourself that you're important, worth caring for, worth working on, worth saving. Should you choose to take it, that's door number 1. Door number 2, you keep the bricks, and you drown the agonizing pain of carrying them in a sea of loud distractions and mindless busy work. I want you to imagine something simple. Imagine you turn on a basketball game. It's the Bulls and the Lakers playing at Staples. The Lakers trailed 62-67 at the 7-minute mark of the third quarter. Now, regardless of what you know about basketball, what do you really know about this? Do you know who will win? Who was winning? Do you know how many times the lead changed? How many points each player will have at the end of the night? Nothing. You know nothing but what is. It's 62-67. The Bulls are winning. Now, I want you to imagine a picture of a cat, a dog, and a pig. 3 images. Now scale them down to 33% opacity. Layer them, one on top of another. Spin them randomly. What do you see? If you're like most people, you see a jumbled mess. And yet, how many times are we doing the same thing in our own lives as we simultaneously attempt to process past, present, and future? The last time you were late for a big meeting, think about what happened. Just what thoughts ran through your head? Was it just, oh shoot, I'm 5 minutes late today? Or was it, oh man, this is the 5th time I'm late this month. I wonder if people will think I'm rude. I hope they don't think I'm rude. I hope they don't start the meeting without me. I wonder if I'm missing information. I hope I don't lose my job because of this, because if I lose it, I won't be able to make rent. If I can't make rent, my girlfriend will... Do you see how far it can go so quickly? How are we expected to process all of that information? And how much of it is actually in our control? And how much are we impacting our ability to do something about what we can control by focusing so much attention on what we can't control? This is awareness. Awareness is situational. It's knowing what's around you, what's happening in that moment, what's 5 feet ahead, and dialing into that with full focus. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone, from Pascal. Now, I'm not saying awareness is going to bring you immediate joy. It's hard to become aware. You might not love what you find. You might not want to honestly ask the hardest questions. Am I happy? Have I married the wrong person? Do I hate my job? Am I even a good person? But there is no other way that I've found to achieving the peace that you desire than by first becoming aware and asking these questions. Finally, I want to end this podcast with why we called it I'm Okay. For years, people would ask me how I was. I would always answer with one of 3 statements. Not bad. You? Fine. You? Or I'm okay. Yourself? Generally, the other person would mirror my lazy response, and the conversation was effectively over. For the past 7 months, whenever I've been asked how I am, I've made a deliberate point to answer it as honestly as possible. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for myself. How are you? I'm fantastic. How are you? Actually, I'm having a very frustrating day. Whatever my response, as long as I'm thinking about it, it usually results in something honest. Bonus point, it usually leads to a far more interesting follow-up than simply saying, I'm okay. Our brains are designed to help us survive. If we want to thrive, if we want to be truly happy, we must do something other than what we've been doing, or what we're wired to do. I want to thank you for spending time listening to I'm Okay. I hope this podcast has been as valuable for you as it has been for me. Please subscribe and review. If you know someone who could benefit from hearing about it, share it. And I look forward over the coming months and years to the journey we take together to find happiness, peace, and a greater understanding of ourselves.